Hey, welcome. So today in this video, we're going to be taking a look at rendering inside of Reaper and how the Strata collections are especially set up to handle rendering the files and the versions of the different takes and sounds that are inside these collections. So there's a lot kind of going on inside the Reaper render menu. If you haven't really explored it much before, even if you have, you're going to want to understand fully in depth how the regions and things that are included in these projects play a very significant role in rendering out your files from the Strata collections. So you're really going to want to not miss this. It's not, again, file naming and all that, not the most exciting topic, but it's going to be extremely helpful getting you started off on the right foot. It's a lot of things that once you're sort of aware of them, it makes sense, and then you don't really have to worry about it again. Okay, so here's a recording of a coffee machine I'm actually going to be using in the interactive design video. So just let you hear it real quick. All right, terrific. So if I was going to name this file using the universal category system, so first thing is going to be the category ID. All right, so the category is always fully uppercase, and that's for this one. For machine, it's going to be MACH. And then the subcategory in this case is for appliance, it's going to be A, starts with an uppercase letter and then PPL. I don't have a user category right now, but I'll take a look at that later. So the vendor category is what would come next, which in my case for this file, I already know is going to be this. So kitchen, this is a file technically from one of my personal libraries. So I actually do have this kind of pre-configured. Next is going to be the actual effects name. So for that, I'll just name it Coffee Maker Power Up and then 01 because I think I do have a few versions. For the next thing is going to be the creator ID. So I do have a creator ID for myself. So I'll put that in there. And then the last thing is going to be the source ID. So that's usually like the collection name or like the library name, sometimes for some creators. So for this, I'll put that as well. So again, we have the category ID, then we have the vendor category, and then we have the effects name, and then we have the user ID, and then we have the creator ID, and then we also have the source ID at the end there. So those are the main components that Strata collections will use for their file naming conventions. Anything else that you would want to add, such as like a user category or user data, would be something additional that perhaps you would add on your own. If you want to get more information about the Universal Category System, you should go to the official website, universalcategorysystem.com, this is what the site will look like. And they also have, under their resources section, a full list of all the categories. So if you're kind of following along and seeing how I name some of these things and as I'm going over it, if you're curious what the categories actually are, make sure you go to the website, take a look at this Excel file and the list that is along with it. And it's very useful. They even have explanations. So if you're trying to come up with a category or figure out what category to use for a particular sound, there's justifications for when you would use each one and some examples. It's an incredible resource in and of itself. Okay, so I have some things that I want to render out of the Movement Servo Stutter subproject. So let's go over to that. All right, so there it is, just found it. Open that up. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, let's say I'm making kind of a real quick version of this. Let's say I'm going to maybe we want to have a version where these details are muted down here, right? Maybe I just want these servos right here. Okay, anyway. So the thing we have to understand about rendering from inside of a Strata collection Reaper project is what this kind of conglomeration of categories and references to subprojects and all this information that's in this region at the top here, that you'll actually see this long string of text. It actually goes the entire expanse of this subproject. Okay, so this thing up here is called the data region, and it gives information, or it supplies information for all other regions that are within the same time frame. That's why it stretches the whole length of the project. So this information that's in here is going to be really important for when we open up the render window and when you start rendering out files. Okay, so obviously, if you wanted to add anything to this or make changes to it, you would have to kind of come over here and type into this box, which is kind of, not the most fun thing to do in the universe, but you'd have to kind of come over and find where, let's find, there's a cat ID. So then here's where the user category technically would be. So most likely this is where I would want to add something. So maybe I call it Strata Interactive Design. All right. So there's my, user category. Okay. So now I have some kind of new information in there. Another way of handling sort of editing these data regions, which makes it a little bit more bearable, is if you have the SWS extension for notes installed. So if I have that, then I could basically come over here and say what notes I want to access from this drop down, say region marker or marker region names. And then any one of these that you click on, it's going to give you the name in there in the notes field. And so it could potentially be quite a bit easier. Maybe I'll go in here and add my user data, which is right there. So user data, I'll just say version 1, right? Just like I've been kind of doing. One other component that's important, as well as the data region, is the actual region for the particular sounds or the particular takes. So in this case, the slow, medium servos are right here. So this is also something, these regions here are going to be used in the naming when we open up the render window, and it'll be part of the final file name there. So slow, medium in this case. So there we have it. Essentially all of these regions in here play some important role as far as the final file name and how these get rendered out of Reaper. Okay, so now let's take a look at actually doing the render process. So again, I'll point out that I have on this side here the region and marker manager, which I go over in a bunch of different videos where that is, but it's under view and region marker manager. So it's really important for kind of navigating these and selecting what you actually want to render out in the end here. So let's say I want these slow medium servos. Right there. Okay. So what I could do is I could actually shift select all those, and then I'll go to File, Render. And now here we are inside the Render to File menu. All right. And here's the important thing to focus on. Inside of the file name is pre-configured to use the region wildcards. So that's why you keep seeing this repeating thing here. We're taking the region and then some piece of information that is also attached to the regions. And then these are all what are going to be used to generate the file name, right? So it won't actually look like this crazy long string of text here. And then you can see there's all sorts of information that is going to be derived from that data region here. Okay. So everything that we input in there in that data region, all the information that's contained within the actual, the other regions themselves. So, the takes like that, this is the slow, medium movement sounds for these servos. That's also going to all fall in here, and you'll see how that kind of comes together. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll go ahead and click. You can see here it shows me the bottom. It's going to render 6 files, and that's based on, what I have selected there. And then also at the top, there's some things, just if you're curious, maybe you haven't looked at this a whole lot. It's the source for my renders is the region render matrix, and then the boundaries are the selected regions. So that's how it's figuring out what I have selected over here. Okay, so not much more to it. Let's go ahead and hit render and see how it comes out. And I'll show them in the Finder here. Excellent. So there we go. We can see the brand new rendered version of these sounds. And then, of course, we can see that there's the user category that I put in there. So that these are associated with the project that I'm going to be using them to demonstrate with, and then the version of these particular assets. Just to once again reinforce what we're doing with the universal category system with throughout all this, the category ID right here, so robot movement. And then here is my user category that I, decided to add in on my own. So Strata Interactive Demo. And then we also have the movement servo stutter, which is the vendor category in this case. So that's the Strata collection subproject for robotic collection. And then there's the effects name. And then there's the creator ID. And then there's the source ID for the robotic collection in its entirety. And then there's my user data, my version number. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll have some updates and things coming out, and there'll be new videos coming out. So if you have some suggestions or comments or anything related to the videos, you can leave those in the comments section. We'll try to monitor those and communicate as we're able to. Thanks again, and hopefully that was enjoyable, and we'll see you in the next one.